I want to welcome everyone to our May Board of Education meeting. And at this time, I want to ask Dr. Edmond if he would open us in word of prayer and submission of the national and the Pledge of Allegiance.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, Dr. E, as we all are aware, is going to Washington to be the superintendent. But this is going to be his last meeting with us because the June meeting he's going to have to miss. So I requested that he do the prayer so that we can always remember his positive words as he goes off to Washington County.
Yes, sir. All right. Everybody, please join me. Bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for this opportunity to be here in this place, to be about the business of serving children in this wonderful community. We also ask, Lord, that you bless the board member, Ms. Roxdale, in a speedy recovery. We ask that you bless each and every one here and continue to bless the children as they prepare to close out the year and prepare for their summer events, our teachers, our administrators. And tonight, Lord, I want to present this opportunity to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to work in such a wonderful school district with great people, a great community. It has been my honor and my pleasure. And Lord, we ask that you bless this meeting tonight. Let your hand of wisdom lay upon each board member and our superintendent to be about the focus, and that's serving children. In thy Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Edmond, and you will be missed. Thanks.
Question, Mr. Chief, before you get started.
Okay.
What's wrong with Barksdale? I heard it in the prayer.
Ms. Barksdale yesterday called after she got out of surgery, and
They kept her overnight?
they definitely kept her overnight. They want to keep her longer. She talked them into coming home today, but she's supposed to stay home and rest with surgery yesterday. That makes sense. So she got a good report, and she's okay. She just needs to recover.
Okay.
Now we're going to move on to our consent items. They consist of our agenda, minutes of the April 16, 2019 meeting, rental of facilities, high school auditorium, dance recital, May 16th, 17th, 2019, rental of facilities, high school auditorium, Washington Dance Academy, May 31st and June 1st, an overnight field trip, FCCLA State Officer Training, May 3 through 5, 2019 in Covington, an overnight field trip for yearbook workshop, June 2 through 4, 2019 LaGrange, and an overnight field trip Skills USA National Conference, June 24 through 29, 2019 Louisville, Kentucky. And also just make note that we are planning to have a recess at 10 till 7 tonight to attend the middle school award ceremony, and then we'll resume approximately 15 minutes after that award ceremony is over. I have a motion to accept the consent items. I have a motion by Mr. Madison.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hyman. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. We have no public participation, so we're going to move on to financials.
Okay. We have the general fund financials first. You can see we're at 83.33% of the year at the end of April, and our revenues are at 89.64%, so we are running as we have been on our revenues in quite good shape. Our taxes are actually at 100%. We've already collected what we budgeted with 2 months left to go, so we are a little under budgeted on the revenues, which is the way I like to be. So, so we are in good shape on our revenues. On our expenditures, we're at 79.67%, which is again a good place on them. You want to be under on your expenditures, so we're right in line with everything on our expenditures as far as our budget is concerned. At the end of April, we had about $3.5 million cash in the account and a 2.6 fund equity, and that is again in line with where we plan to be at this point in our budget year. On the SPOS fund, we collected $55,282.08, which is again above our 50,000 figure, so we're staying well above that. We've only had 1 month this year that was below. You can see it's a little bit below last April, but to be honest, I thought it would be a little bit lower this year with the TAVT coming in, where we don't get the SPOS on the new car sales, but we're holding up there, so we're doing good. The economy must be doing well in Lincolnton. With that 55, that gives us a balance of $382,303.64 in the SPOS account. Our bond account has $332,845.39, giving us a total of $695,149.03 toward our future bond and interest payments. So we're collecting toward the next year's payments on that. Our capital projects, only change was a little bit of interest. We've got about $52,000 available for projects in the capital projects fund. And then we have our principals activity reports. The elementary school started with $46,413.56 and ended the quarter. This is for January through March. We do their reports on a quarterly basis. So at the end of March, they had $52,644.51. In the middle school, started with $58,536.76, ended with $70,704.84. The high school activities account started with $42,406.12 and ended with $50,597.84. And the athletic account started with $49,009.44 and ended with $34,762.43.
Any questions on any of the budget items? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Buford. We'll move on into our public hearing for the 2019-2020 budget.
Okay. First thing you have is the proposed budget, which is what we'll be asking you to approve tonight. That's what we're proposing for the tentative budget. You can see we've got the general fund, the special revenue funds, capital projects fund, and debt service fund. These are the same ones that we have each year. The debt service fund is for your bond and interest. The capital projects, you just saw the report on that. That's where we set aside money for specific projects. Special revenue funds includes the federal grants and some state grants, things like that, that are specifically allocated. School food services also in there. And then in the general fund, which is the one that is the most concerned to everybody, that has your local taxes, that's your ad valorem taxes, property taxes, some other local sources, your state sources, which is some state grants, and then also your QBE funds, we've talked about that, and the federal sources. And then on the expenditures, they're divided into the instructions and the different areas, just like they are on the monthly reports that I showed to you. So we're proposing this budget with general fund estimated revenues $12,071,012, expenditures $13,118,691, giving an excess of revenues under expenditures of $1,047,679. Excuse me. The fund projecting the fund balance at the end of this year is $1,007,000, leaving us $652,321 in the fund balance at the end of next year. And if you'll flip to the next page, this will give you an idea of some of the changes that we've made from the current year budget. Current year we're in is 19, so these are the changes from the 19 to the FY20 budget. We've increased the QBE earnings based on a spreadsheet from the state. We don't have the official allotment sheet yet, but those are usually pretty accurate by the time they send those out. So we should receive another $450,344 from the state for our QBE earnings. I adjusted the property taxes. That's based on the previous year's property tax. I've talked with Kenny Adair, and he says he doesn't think there'll be a big change this year, so we have to estimate those as best we can. I took out the impact aid. We do that each year because we never know if the federal government's going to actually budget that and pay out the impact aid each year. A lot of times they take it out of the budget, then they put it back in. But in order to not rely on that, I just take it out, and then we add it back mid-year if we get it. Adjusted the miscellaneous grants. That's just the different state grants. That's a slight increase in those. Added a year experience to all the employees who are on salary scales to give them an additional year experience. Added the $3,000 for the base salary schedule based on the state grant that $3,000 would go to all certificated employees. Increased the non-certificated employees by 2%. We have a few people who will be receiving certificate upgrades in the next year where they go from like a 4-year to a 5-year certificate. So we have to allot for that. There was no state help increase this year, but I wanted to leave that line item on there to point that out to you. This is actually a year they did not increase state help. The TRS increased from 20.9% to 21.14%, so that was a small increase compared to last year. It went up about 4% last year, so this was a good thing that it was a small increase. Our employee replacements is going to cost about $50,000. We eliminated 2 groundskeepers, but we also increased the contract services. Last year we only had 6 months in the budget. This year we got the full year of contracted services in there. So the offset of those two is we actually made a little bit of money. Eliminated a 49% high school teacher, eliminated the middle school principal, added the middle school special ed teacher that we're proposing to put in the budget. That's just an estimated amount. We're proposing the flooring at the elementary school lunchroom be replaced, and that's a budget figure for that. And then the department head adjustments are the adjustments for the different managers and principals as far as the accounts that they control. So with all of that, that added $149,357 to the expenditures that we had last year. That's to the amended budget. The $898,322 is what we have in the amended budget. So that gives us the $1,047,679. And that's where I put the estimated fund balance per the budget is $1,286,440. I'm saying we think we'll have about $400,000 more than that to give us the 1.7 and at the beginning of the year, and then $652 at the end of the year. The next page shows you a comparison of the 19 amended budget with the FY20 budget, and that just shows you the different changes. It just kind of points out the changes. You can look and see the taxes went up a little bit. The state sources went up, basically the QBE funding. The federal went down by the impact aid. And all of the expenditures, you can see the bulk of that is going to be your salary expenditures, where it went up in instruction, because that's where most of your certificated teachers are. Went down in administration because we're losing one principal. So that's a comparison there. The final sheet is the one that Dr. White always likes for me to give because it shows how conservative I am. It shows your fund balance as far, and the main ones to look at are the actual change and the budget change. The budgeted change is what we have in the budget. Those are the amended budget figures. The actual change is what actually happened in the fund balance. So you can see I'm very conservative, and I always wind up with more than I think I will in the budget. And the reason is because if you look at the revenues, we're already always over on the revenues. And on the expenditure side, we're always under, usually about 3 to 4%. And that makes up that difference. We don't spend everything that we budgeted to spend, which is a good thing. So we do wind up with more in the budget at the end of the year than we're projecting in most budgets. So not a guarantee, though. I always remind him that it could be the one year that we actually spend everything, but normally it is like that. So what we are asking you to do is approve the budget as a tentative budget. It has to be approved as a tentative budget first. You have to do that at least 2 weeks prior to adoption of the final budget. We will put it on our website, and we will also we need to have one other public hearing. This has been a public hearing, and we'll have another public hearing, and then adopt the final budget in June at the June board meeting. Excuse me. We can make any changes we want between now and June. We just have to specify to the public so that they understand any adjustments we've made from this budget that we've advertised. But it is no problem to make a change if we want to.
Mr. Chair.
Any questions on the budget?
I have a question on the budget. Ms. Kay, I need to direct it to Kay. Ms. Kay, on the employee $3,000, is that, has the governor said that's one time, or will that salary scale stay at that?
That will stay that. They changed the actual salary schedule. They added $3,000 to every slot in the salary schedule.
I know when I talked to the superintendent earlier, there was,
We
They-
didn't know. Yeah,
right,
We didn't
so
know how they were.
they
gonna
have
do that.
decided not to take it, it's there permanently.
Right.
Great, okay.
Any other questions on the budget?
Our supplements, it's in my package.
Right, I think you're gonna go over that in executive session, because that has
Okay.
names on it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. All right, that's my other question. Well, I kind of failed, I have one other one. Ms. Kay, the number that you put in for the flooring, you
Mhm.
said it's only for the lunchroom?
Yes.
Is that an estimate, or do you have a bid, or how did you come up with
That's an
48,000?
estimate from a contractor, but we would have to bid it out before we have an exact amount. That was just-
What contractor gave you that,
I do not know. The maintenance director got that for
the
me,
maintenance?
just so I'd have something to put in the budget.
So that may fluctuate, it may go down or it may go up?
Right.
So, do you know what kind of flooring you're gonna put in the cafeteria? Is there a special kind for cafeteria because of slip and slide and wet and all that kind of stuff?
I think this was specifically something new that they're looking
It
at.
was, as you remember, we had Lively Flooring from local here in Lincolnton did a test floor for us in the teacher's lounge at the elementary school with a product they call Texas Granite, because it's supposed to eliminate the removal of the wax, eliminate the stripper, reduces your labor time, and it maintains its shine and its color. So they're using it in hospitals and getting great results. We wanted to test drive it. They did that floor over there in the teacher's lounge, which is a very small room, for free. And then this estimate is what that is as an estimate with that same product.
Okay.
Now, there's no guarantee we're going with that product, but we needed a placeholder, so that's the one we used.
What's been the response from teachers who go into the teacher's lounge?
They seem very happy with it, but so does the custodial staff, which was an
That
important
was
piece
my
for
next
me.
step,
ma'am.
yes. So it's holding as you
It's
are?
holding up much better, yes.
All right. What about replacement costs? Because I know at the high school, the, what's the name of that?
Terrazzo?
Terrazzo, thank you. I always have a hard time remembering that. I know that with the replacement of Terrazzo, we found out, or you guys found out, that it was very expensive to replace.
Correct.
So is this new thing, Texas Granite or whatever, is it going to be expensive to replace?
Supposedly, it's as easy as putting down tile, it's just a much higher quality of tile. So it's supposed to last a whole lot longer, and it's supposed to provide that shine, it eliminates the stripper and those type of
So it's
labor
not really a
intensity.
granite?
Well, they're calling it Texas Granite as a logo because it's such a hard tile.
Okay.
But it's still pieces, it's not like the
Yes,
terrazzo
it's
that
still
is-
square.
that's
Still
poured
tile.
out. and
Right.
stuff, So it
Yeah.
so it could
But
be
I know,
replaced.
yeah, but I know sometimes even squares get expensive.
yeah.
So you just look in Lowe's and some squares are $30, $40 a square. I'm like, wow. So that's why I asked, because that's paid for out of local taxpayers' money.
Any other questions on next year's budget?
We usually try to keep the fund balance higher. Is there a reason why in 2020?
Well, that's what she was trying to explain with that one slide. We still desire that it ends up higher than that. It's a matter of looking at her same projections from previous years, and it's not a guarantee, but the fact that there's no impact aid, there's those things, and then the percentages that she uses. So our desire is that it does end up much higher.
Yeah, because usually don't we try to keep at least $1 million there?
Michael, will you go to the general fund sheet? I think it's past that one, I believe. But it shows on average $727,299.08 as the average difference between the actual change and a budgeted change. So I use that slide to say, Ms. K is extremely conservative. If you know that ahead of time, that's 11 years of being conservative. You can see that average. If you add that to that number, we're in really good shape.
Well, I go back to 1992 when the same,
That was a different person then.
and Miss Kay would banish us and fuss at us if she didn't have that $1 million in that fund balance. So I've known her as a comptroller for a long time. So that's why I asked that question, because I know generally it was always $1 million plus. So that was kind of unnerving when I saw the
Yeah, you can see
$652,000.
It wound up that way in every time. We've never gone below the million. So.
Yeah, so that was my concern. But I have faith in you, Kay.
Okay. Any other discussions on it? Then we need a motion to accept this proposed budget. I have a motion by Mr. Madison to accept the proposed budget as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Hyden.
Question.
Another question?
Now, when we do the other part in executive session, we're motioning to accept it now. If we find something out in executive session, when do we do those changes?
Well, we can, as changes come about, they can be published with it.
Okay, so
For
we
the
can
next
actually,
meeting and for, definitely before the final.
okay, thank you.
All right? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Unanimous. It's not on here, but we need to, at this point, go ahead and set the date for the second hearing. If we could do that now.
We want to do it before the June meeting,
Okay,
which is June, I believe 14, but I don't want to fit. Is it 11?
11.
Yes, June 11. So if we go 1 week ahead of that, that would be June 4. Will you be, I know that you're going to be out of town in June, but I don't know when. Are you going to be in town that day? No, you'll be gone that day as well. Okay.
He ain't by
What do I have
himself.
to do though?
is
Does
anyone else
everybody have to be here?
available for?
We would need a quorum.
We
which
need
would be
three, at least three.
Will you be in town, sir? Ms. Freeman, do you know if you'll be in town?
I know I will not.
You will not be in town June 4, okay? Will you be
I
in town
should be
June
in
4?
town, yes.
Okay.
Now I can-
Because if we don't have 3, there's no reason to schedule it.
Are there any other days in that week, like the 3rd, that would be better? You're out the whole week, right, Chris?
Yes, yeah, those 2 weeks there.
Okay.
But the 7th I'll be back, which is a Friday. I don't know if you'll be on Friday.
What's the evening of the calendar?
Y'all do it
And
on
then-
Tuesdays usually, right?
Well, just, a weekday would be best. The 3rd, 4th, or 5th, would you be available?
I'm good.
You'd be any of those days.
If I have to be available, I can be available. If that's what it takes.
You mean like a call-in?
Either call in or I can come back.
And I'm not sure if if it'd be better for D if we did it earlier or later. So we'll have to,
Can we do it that,
You can do it the week of the 28th. I could still get it to the paper. We just have to advertise it in the paper. So I'd have to be able to get it to them to advertise next week if you want, if you'd rather go back a week.
I know that
I will not be available that week, but
Okay.
if the others could do it that week, that'd be fine.
I'm available. You'll be here that week?
That's the Memorial Day week. So
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay. Ms. Freeman, will you be available Memorial Day week?
that's my anniversary weekend,
Okay, that's fine.
so,
It's after that weekend. It'll be like the 28th, which will be
Yeah.
a Tuesday.
we have a retirement
Okay,
anniversary trip,
okay.
Yeah.
I thought I heard you say weekend, I didn't know.
yeah.
You just schedule for-
Can we go back to
That's first
June?
week in June that I
Can-
can call in or
the
something.
7th?
That's no problem.
That Friday?
I think I could do it the 6th or let me see, the 7th. I think we get back
That's a
on the
Friday.
6th.
I could do it Friday.
You won't be here Friday.
No.
Oh,
that's
you
fine.
won't be
But-
here
but
Friday.
If y'all three, if we know that y'all three could be here that Friday, that'd be fine. Because we don't have to have a certain amount of time ahead of our,
As long as we pass the tentative tonight, we just have to have those two
Have two
prior to
meetings
doing
in
the
to-
final.
What about the
I don't
10th?
think that- Let me make sure, you know,
the day before the other meeting.
Yeah,
if it doesn't have to be a week prior.
That'd be fine with me if that,
I believe it states it just has to be before the meeting,
I'll be gone.
Ms. Kay.
and you're gonna be gone for the 10th and the 11th anyway, so.
oh, you'll be gone the 10th and the 11th?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I
And
can
our
call-
meeting-
I can call in. I mean,
Oh,
that's-
okay.
And I know Dee can't be here for the 7th because she'd be in Savannah.
That's correct.
So can we do the 10th? Mr. Heitman said he could call. Can you come the 10th? And you could come,
You can
Jason?
do the 10th.
I can be here the 10th.
Okay,
You can be here the 4th.
thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I don't know how to pull mine up.
Okay. You can be here the 10th?
The 10th, yes.
That just can't be held the same week, so.
Oh, it
Can't
can?
be held the same.
The final meeting in that week, but that's fine, because that's the week before, so.
No, not
We were
the
just
10th.
looking at the 10th. That'd be the day before.
That's just
Well,
a
it says you
week.
can't have the two public meetings on the same week.
But
But I
today
guess
is a
we had
public.
one today, so,
Yeah,
and then
then we
that
should be
one, so-
fine. They're not all in the same week.
Okay.
Okay. So we will do it on the 10th.
So we're gonna have a meeting 10th and 11th.
Yes.
That makes sense.
10th will be the room for sure.
What
And
time?
we could call in if we have not been here.
Yes, sir. You can. What time on the 10th?
You wanna do
Well,
it earlier than that?
Earlier, I mean, early is fine with me.
I'll be here 7:30.
We can do it at 9:00 a.m. I don't care. I mean, seriously. What time is good for it?
I should be available anytime, so to come up and do it.
Get that right.
So you wanna do it in the morning?
I'm good. I get up at 5, so anytime after
Well, I
that.
ain't gonna meet you at 5. I'm up too, but I'm not coming down here.
You know,
I can do it on the 10th at 8 a.m.
Oh, you can?
Sure.
All right. 8 a.m.?
Okay.
Do that.
Let's
We'll
say
be right
those
here at
that.
8 a.m. on June the 10th.
Okay. Just, Lynn called me to remind me, please. The day before.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Access that, thanks.
Yeah.
And you'll send that email to Ms. Barksdale?
Yes, ma'am.
And she can't, we have 4 that can, so
Yeah.
you'll be fine for that.
Busy folks are.
Good. All right, next on the agenda is we have a surplus Ford Ranger.
This is a 1995 Ford Ranger that was at the elementary school for a very long time. It does have some mechanical issues and it was not meeting the needs, so we want to surplus this item and get it off of our inventory. So it is my recommendation to surplus it. I'll have have it researched to find out what it's worth. We'll put it out there like we did the surplus buses for an X bid as a minimum bid and see what we get.
Any questions on it?
They're not using it.
No, we
Can't
replaced
use it.
We're not gonna have to buy another one anytime soon, are we?
We have already replaced it.
Oh, this one's been replaced?
Yes, ma'am. This has been replaced.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Heitman to surplus it. Have a second by Ms. Freeman. All in favor? Unanimous. Nutrition program, food and supplies bid.
Every 5 years, we have to put out for total bid all of the products, or the majority of the products that come out of the food nutrition. Some bids you can piggyback on with multiple other districts to try and get a better price. The majority of it, or the bulk of it, you cannot. At your table, all of these pages, which is pretty close to 75 pages, are all the things that are in the bid. Now, there was a change on July 1 of 2018. They created a procurement website, and at the time, any item over $25,000 or perceived that could cost over $25,000 had to be put on this website to receive a national bid. That came from a legislator down south. And that being said, it was a whole lot of items that were going on this procurement website that to most superintendents did not seem reasonable. The governor on the 28th, I believe it was, of April, signed it into law that it is now moved up to 100,000. Now, these large bids are going to be over 100,000, or perceived it could be over 100,000 over the course of the year. So we went ahead and put this on the procurement site anyway. It'll be on that site until the 28th of May is when it closes, and then we'll accept the best bid and come back to you for a vote on the bid. But I wanted you to have an idea that we are putting this out for bid, and the bids will come back for you to, excuse me, to be able to accept those bids. So I'm making a recommendation that we place all of this on the site for bid.
I know some of you, I'm not even sure if you've actually ever voted on school nutrition stuff, because, and it's, like you said, it's, once you get on it, you can have just an annual agreement to, where you have a certain percentage increase or whatever, and continue with the same suppliers as necessary for up to 4 years, is that?
Correct. And we run into the difficulty of where we're at. Getting a truck to come out here and deliver X number of pieces is not financially feasible for logistics for them. It'd be different if we had 7 or 8 high schools and we're delivering a full truckload. So that's part of why we struggle to get realistic bids, is because of where we sit. But we still have to bid it, and we're gonna see what we get.
In this nutrition bid, the new standards for food has changed. Standard,
Some of the standards did change, yes, ma'am?
yes. And so now you can go back to spicy and,
A little bit, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am,
and
and have done a little bit of that.
yeah,
The children are very happy to have something that has some flavor.
taste. So that's included in this
Yes.
75 pages as well?
Yeah.
I think I saw a mention of it on page 10. Okay. Are local people available to bid on that site as well?
Anybody across the nation can bid. In fact, there was a phone call a couple of days ago from Connecticut, of all places. I can't imagine logistically they'd ship anything in, but we have to open to all bids and see what we get.
You
So I
know,
hope local bids.
now with all the courier service, it's amazing. You order something on Amazon and it's here the next day. You order parts for for your, those big tractor trailers. They're here the next day. So it's not as difficult as it was back in the day, whether we're small or large. With all these tariffs, people want the business. That's why you're hearing from Connecticut and other places.
Not like,
Yes, sir.
who is the current supplier for most of this? I mean, is it?
Most of
one?
this comes from Williams. Our bread, as an example, comes from Durst. Our milk comes from, I'm sorry? Pet, that's correct, Pet. So just depends on the product. We get some of the stuff going into the kitchen comes from Haskins as well, because Haskins had a lower price on some items, and we compare them by price, trying to get as little amount as we can.
So do y'all expect the same people to bid on it again?
I expect that, but when you put this out, you never know what you're gonna get. I expect them to bid, but if we can find something lower, we'll go with a new supplier. I know that US Foods dropped to Lincoln County because they were too far away on both of their routes. They have a route that goes into Augusta and a route that goes north from Elberton farther north. And we were in between, and they refused to come out here.
Who does our chemical and paper? Who's our chemical and paper supplier?
Haskins does most of that
Haskins.
right now. Now, that could change with this bid, of course.
We just go with the cheapest one, not the,
That has our product, yes, sir. I don't want to get a less product because then you have less cleanliness, and that's not acceptable.
Who's our current vendor on food?
Most of it is Williams. Again, Durst is for bread and Pet is for milk.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll know something at the next board meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Then do we need to vote to put that out, or you just informing us?
I'm
that
just
it's out?
informing
Let's go.
everybody that it's out there for bid, and then June will come back with some numbers and let you know what the bid is.
Great. Okay, next is our policies for review.
Okay, DGA, School Board Association, will remain as is. Media Programs, IFBD, will remain as is. Number 3 is JGFGA, which is the automated external defibrillators. That will remain as is. The JHCC, student publication, will remain as is. JM is contests for students. That will remain. And KHB is a duplicate put in another spot so that everybody can find it easily, will also remain as is, and they cross-reference each other as you look at those. You move down to 2 policies for deletion. JHCAA is called Secret Societies. It came from 1978. And according to GSBA, was a board decision at that time. It is not necessary anymore, so I'm recommending that we delete that one. The next one down is JQE, JQF, and JQG. Pregnant, married, unwed mothers must be allowed to enroll. Well, in 1978, that may have been a different rule. Now it is not necessary to enroll all students that live in our area, so that is an unnecessary policy, so I'm recommending we delete that one. Moving down to bids and quotations, which is DJED. I added the information on the Georgia procurement website and added the link for the website, and identified that it is now $100,000 that shall be added to that website as a bid process.
Any questions on any of these policies?
On JHCAA, Is,
The secret societies.
yeah,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
do we have a policy that says, that students can only have the approved by the board, clubs?
We have a policy that states that all clubs must be sponsored by a teacher, which means it would have to be approved through the principal and would of course come to us. So that's how we make sure that that doesn't get away from us.
Okay, 'cause the reason I was asking is because with all this stuff going on today, you don't know kids are in these secret societies until they shoot up a school. So,
Any other questions on these policies?
is this the first reading, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
It is. Okay. We'll move on to superintendent's reports.
It was requested that I provide some update from my trip to Savannah for the bootstrap for superintendents. I just talked about the procurement website, which is the first item on this list. The second, and there's a number of laws here, the next one on the list is Senate Bill 15, which has actually been vetoed by the governor, so it is not required and not a law. It was a safety plan review that required update annually, which we do anyway, but there was additional pieces to it. He vetoed it, so it is not going to be a factor for us. Senate Bill 60, sudden cardiac arrest, coaches will be trained on this annually, and there is training requirements inside the school as well. So this is an additional alert, more for athletes, but also for the entire school. House Bill 530, student under compulsory age of attendance that withdraws from school but does not enter into another district or homeschool registration. DFACs must be contacted within 45 days if a student is withdrawn from a school but doesn't enter somewhere else but is of compulsory age of attendance. So we will have to keep track of that one. Senate Bill 48 is the dyslexia bill. In 2021, there will be a 3-year pilot program for screening for 3 systems only. And those 3 systems will do a screening, and then they'll make a decision about the LEAs taking it over in 24-25. They're trying to test to see what is the best evaluation of dyslexia, the most accurate, as well as providing the best and quickest turnaround time. House Bill 478, child abuse registry, now involves notice and the right to a hearing prior to placement on the registry. House Bill 459, the LEA will provide names and driver's license numbers of bus drivers twice per year. The concern here was when it was done once per year at the beginning of the year, if the driver lost their license in that year, some of them were still driving. So now they have to do it twice a year. House Bill 311 waives the immunity of the constitutional claims against the state. It waives immunity as to non-monetary claims against cities and counties, but school districts are not affected by this. So school districts still have their immunity. Also wanted to state that the certificated employees receive $3,000 increase in salary, and all non-certificated employees receive $2,000 increase in salary from that meeting. So
2%.
2%, yes, ma'am. The next item I have on my list is the legislative position of the district, and we need to inform Ms. Barksdale what that legislative position is as she goes to Savannah and provides a vote for us. Now, I downloaded the proposal for the Governmental Operations Committee and the amendment to amend the 2019 legislative positions. So I put that on here so we would have an idea of what to discuss, or if you need to discuss further.
If you look up on your screen, or either up on the large screen, the new position, this is something proposed by Richmond County, that GSBA proposes that one member of a local state legislative delegation should not have the authority to prevent a local school board from carrying out its approved actions. This local state legislative delegation votes regarding the local school system should be governed by a simple majority vote. In their rationale on this, you can read, duly elected boards of education should be able to conduct standard business and request legislation through local delegations by a simple majority vote. This would prevent local legislators with conflicts of interest or personal hesitations with approved BOE business from derailing approved actions. I'd like to say I understand that. I'm not really sure the need of where they're coming from, because, I mean, everything we do is just, all our votes are a simple majority. But they're saying the local state legislative delegations.
There was an incident in Richmond County where they wanted their state reps to put something on the state agenda to be voted on. And the only way to do that was to go through their local delegation that represents them in Atlanta at the State House. A person who is a state legislator and has a significant other on the board.
Tried.
So, and it makes sense. It's to me, it could read nepotism or favoritism, but it makes sense, and we don't have to worry about it, but a lot of larger districts do. So when we go to these governing things, it's not just about Lincoln County, it's about everybody in the state. So that's why they got support from other school districts as well. So that's why it's there.
All right, so how do we want our delegate to vote on this? Our delegate's going to vote as we see on this. And I mean, like Ms. Freeman said, I don't have a problem. I mean, I don't think it affects us, but this is what goes into the whole GSB delegation. So, all in favor of this new proposal? Raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. Was that for or against?
It was 4.
Okay.
4.
All right. And we will have Ms. Barksdale support that for us. All right. If you keep going down to see another red. Dual enrollment. Proposed addition by Jones County. Dual enrollment cap on credit hours towards TCCs, which is the Technical College Certificate hours. GSBA opposes legislation that includes counting dual enrollment credit hours toward the Technical College Certificate hours in any cap for dual enrollment credit hours. The rationale. The Georgia Assembly seems to be enacting rules that are in direct contradiction to the establishment of a skilled workforce for Georgia. For example, Senate Bill 161, signed by Governor Nathan Deal on May 11, 2011, defined College and Career Academy and established the Office of College and Career Transitions within the Technical College System of Georgia, with responsibility for providing oversight and support to college and career academies. Legislation funded the Georgia College and Career Academy project, grants to support the development of college and career academies that serve high school students. The Alternative Graduation Plan, formerly known as Senate Bill 2, not yet funded, offers an alternate path to high school graduation. Student must successfully complete certain required high school courses and all required tests associated with them and complete any one of 3 technical college credential programs. These credentialed programs require from 30 to 70 hours, thus exceeding the 30-hour cap the Georgia General Assembly is considering. This will prevent many students who intend to pursue a post-secondary education at traditional four-year universities from participating in occupational areas of dual enrollment. Example, architect might want to pursue welding or construction technical certificates. Doctor might want to pursue first responder certificate. Occupational areas of dual enrollment frequently reflect highly demanded careers for Georgia and result in skills necessary to ensure Georgia continues to be the best state to do business through a quality workforce. Any discussion on that?
I agree with the organization. a lot of kids back in the day, even 30 years ago, maybe 35, 40 years ago, were able to become LPNs successfully taking the state test. Welders were the same way. And technical schools and high schools work in concert together. That's why most CTAE instructors have to be nationally and internationally certified, such as mechanics. They take an international test by ASE. And every mechanic at Mercedes, Porsche, Ford, Chevrolet have to take the same test. And so nurses, they're not given a different test. They take the regular LPN state boards. So I think it's a good program because you can leave high school, especially the certified nurses assistant, also have to take the state test. And I keep looking at you to make sure I'm saying everything correctly. So I think it's a good program, and I think they're correct in calling out the legislators on this, and it needs to be called out on this, I think, and I would like to know if we have support from our CTA people with what I'm saying.
You're asking me? This is the first I've seen of it, actually, but I think that it sounds like a legitimate platform.
Mine too, so.
And the reality is, this is just GSBA position. This is not a law. This is just what, so GSBA, when it's on their position, that's when these bills come up, when they start to limit the number of hours, then they will say, our schools don't want this. And so that's what we're voting for.
Well,
And
if you've ever been to a U.S. National Skills USA competition, it's amazing. I've been to the one when they had it in Kansas, and it's amazing what these high school and technical school kids can do, but especially the high schools. And to be able to leave high school with a skill that you can make money and don't have to take out all these college loans, that you can actually work and help pay for your education if you want to go further, that's wonderful.
Okay.
So I think we should support it. That's just my view.
Okay, well, let's vote on this. All in favor of supporting this addition? Aye.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we're going to take a recess now and attend our award ceremony. And I'd like to, my plan is to, at 15 minutes after the close of the ceremony down there, we'll start back with continuing these proposals. Thank you. All right, we'll call our meeting back to order.
What page are you on?
We're on page 8 of the,
Okay, I'm right there.
actually, we just finished the dual enrollment part.
So we're on 9 now.
Okay, the next addition that's being proposed is by Clark County, and its proposal is that GSBA supports the funding of a comprehensive mentoring program for new teachers. The rationale, the Georgia Department of Education has already developed a model for high-quality induction program that supports not only retentions, but also the teacher's growth and thereby increasing student learning. It needs to be funded.
Is the following down here part of this, I guess, pilot compensation program?
I know that's
Something
a,
else.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of vague, isn't it?
Not sure that that's where the funding for that, if you want it funded, should come from, but
Yeah, that rationale does go with that, Chris.
it is 1D3, I'm sorry, it is, you're correct. GSBA urges the state to pilot new teachers and leader compensation programs prior to adoption to evaluate the effectiveness and viability of selected compensation scenarios. Still vague.
It used to be a program back in the day, way back in the day, where there was mentor teachers for new staff. And somewhere there was money allocated for it. For the mentor teacher, I'm not sure about the
Wasn't a lot,
new
but it was some
teacher.
kind of
It was-
supplement.
It was
Mhm.
some, yeah, in the form of supplement. And so it's nothing new, it's just something they want to reinstate, so that new teachers don't get burned out trying to go at 100 miles an hour, but they have somebody to guide them so they could go at the right speed. Because we do lose a lot of teachers in Georgia. If you look at the retention every 1 to 3 years, we do lose a lot in this state.
We do that locally, right? We just
Do we do a
our own
mentoring? I
Yes,
mean,
we
we
do.
assign mentors?
Yes, it's just not funded, but yes,
Right.
we do that.
So what is a new teacher someone that's been teaching for 20 years who we hire? Is that considered a new teacher, or are we talking about somebody straight out of college?
Yes,
Yes.
we do that for both. And the reason I say yes is because a new teacher coming into us would receive a mentor for their first year.
Okay.
If it's a new teacher out of college, we try and do it for 3 years, because if you've been teaching for 20 years, you don't need as much help, in my opinion. But if you would like it, we're not gonna pull that person away from it.
Because teachers could tell you every system is different, even though we have the same state laws, but every school may not have the same setup as we have. So, and especially with IT stuff, and sometimes it takes a while to learn the new IT stuff at a different school, especially with putting grades in and putting your reports in that goes to the state daily and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good program. I think it's something good, that it should be funded. And the reason they're asking GSBA, because GSBA, we have a lobbyist, and that's what she does. She goes down and talks to the legislators and tell them what we want as board members, and they lobby for that. So that's why it's going through GSBA.
And I agree. I mean, it sounds good to have it, but I don't think everything can be funded. And that's, I mean, so me personally, I don't think this is something the GSBA should add to it. As you said, it is good. We do stuff with it. We encourage it. It's part of, I guess, in some ways, just like any industry that I've been in. You know, you have new people, you pull them along for a time, and you go. I mean, it's not a extra fund that you get with it, but
We use our federal funds for that.
Right.
We already do
Sometimes
this.
too, so.
Yeah.
but it's done locally.
Right.
It's
Right.
funded
But
through
I mean, that's our
local
choice to
That's
use part of
their
our
choice,
federal
right.
funds to
So-
do that.
But you have to understand Clark County's rationale. A lot of their board members are PhDs, very intelligent people, very educated, and they're right there at the university system, so they get a lot of input from the university system as well as from the public school system. So it's not a frivolous thing that they're asking. And as far as money in the state, we have money for everything else. And the most valuable commodity we have is our children. And I think we should spend money to make sure that every teacher has the tools they need and have a mentor. I'm sure when you hire people for you, you train them and mentor them for a certain period of time before you just sit them out there all willy-nilly. Well, teachers deserve the same.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Who supports this position? Let me know by hand, raise their hands. All right.
Supports it.
Yeah, supports it.
And we're already doing
This is so
This is for the whole
GSBA puts
state.
it on their
it. So
rationale.
state funded.
Yep.
I
Okay. Opposed? I'm opposed to it. So as a school board, we support it.
Mhm.
3-1. All right. There was one more, wasn't
Fulton County,
it? Okay.
it's on page
On
11.
page 11, I presented 2A15. GSBA strongly urges the General Assembly to examine legislation on annexation annexation that provides for input from school systems that are affected. School systems often budget 2 to 3 years in advance, and changes in district lines can dramatically affect school budgets. GSBA further urges that the General Assembly should consider extending the period of enactment of the changes in district lines to give systems more time to adjust their budgets. School boards should be informed of potential legislation regarding annexation in order to prepare for financial as well as other impacts. I don't think this will affect us in any time soon, but here again, I mean, it's one of those things, do we want this being pushed by our state organization? And like I said, I mean, I can see where it does impact Fulton County, but I don't see where this should be something that our state organization has to push. So, any other thoughts on it?
Well, we can't be selfish. I mean, I hope they're not sitting and saying because we're big, we're not gonna do stuff to help the little guy.
Oh, that happens all the time.
But,
It's all the time.
But they are.
no, I've been to these meetings, that's not how it's done. But, it is a problem, and you guys know that we look at budgets and go back for 5 to 7, 10 years, to make sure that we are in line and in focus. So I think it's important that the larger cities have that information.
And like I said, I just don't see where it's an issue where our state organization should be pushing it. I think that's something that they need to work with their own legislature on.
But,
But, all right, let's vote. All in favor? Raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, we're gonna go no on that one.
It's 1 to 3.
Yep.
Okay.
All right,
There's
the
one on page
next.
14.
All right, page 14, we have compulsory attendance, 3.A.1. Proposed amendment by Richmond County. GSBA supports compulsory enrollment in education programs for persons aged 6 years to 18 years who have not graduated from high school. Georgia's Every Student Succeeds Act describes how the Georgia Department of Education will support LEAs, that is learning
Local
education
agencies.
agencies. Thank you.
Authority, either one.
Local education authorities receiving assistance under Title I, Part A, in transitioning students from the middle grades into high school. The intent of this is for states to prevent students from dropping out of high school and to re-engage out-of-school youth. Georgia's ESSA plan describes the responsibility of the district to transition students from middle school to post-secondary options. Increasing the compulsory age to 18 will positively impact the vision as outlined within ESSA and help schools graduate students. Students are legally able to drop out at the age of 16. The initiatives written out in ESSA cannot be accomplished because children are not required by law to attend. The state accountability system requires them to graduate, or districts and schools are held accountable. This means districts and schools are held to a standard in which the compulsory attendance law doesn't align with the state accountability system. Raising the compulsory age to 18 allows districts and schools 2 more years to graduate students and prepare them to transition into post-secondary options. I'm not sure that we'll see a great, I mean, if someone's wanting to drop out at 16, I don't know that make them stay in school is going to change their attitude, but it could. And I mean, it definitely, the point about us having accountability, I mean, we have a graduation rate that we report. That is definitely an issue.
Well, the change with this was it would put the onus on the parent and or the student that they must attend.
right.
As opposed to the way it is now, at 16, you walk out the door, and we don't have any law to hold over their head and say you have to come back and attend.
Except through the judicial system. A judge can make a kid go to school to a certain age, but schools can't. So judicially, they can require them.
Is this a pretty big issue? I mean, does it
Yeah,
happen a lot?
yeah, because when a kid drops out, Doctor-
Yeah,
like,
Yes, ma'am.
tell them how it affects us negatively.
Well, obviously, if a student drops out, it hurts us with our CCRPI through graduation rates. It hurts us with CCRPI through completion. Obviously, if you're going to drop out, you don't work on your score very well, so you don't try to succeed because you know you're going to drop out. There's, I don't want to say 2 or 3 or 7, whatever number you pick is wrong, but there's always children that talk about at the middle school, 9th grade level that say, when I get to 16, I'm dropping out. Now, they don't always succeed when they get there. Some of them get their attitude changed, whether it's by mom, by us, all of the above, and they stay incomplete. But some of the children have that plan, and that's the way it's going to be in their mind. Forcing them to stay to 18, for us, I think we would be fine. For some districts that I've been in the past, it would be a student that would be difficult to deal with every day because he or she is there to cause a problem because they can't leave. So it's a double-edged sword.
Tell them what ESSA is.
ESSA, every student succeed, took the place of No Child Left Behind.
And
So the
it's
whole idea
is it a
of
state or is it a federal?
It's federal.
And what's the requirements, age-wise?
The requirement
Why
for,
they cited ESSA?
because that's 18. The compulsory age
Exactly.
at federal is 18, but Georgia has its own law.
Right, but federal law supersedes when you get federal funds. And what they're trying to do is just bring the federal and the state onto the same plane. Because not only does your local money and you lose a kid, but your federal money is cut.
Which is why they're tying it back to Title I, which is the largest amount of federal dollars we get.
Exactly. So it's a money thing. And it's a moral, well, it's just a common sense thing. We want kids to get an education. And the good outweighs the bad. We don't have
Okay,
heart.
well, let's vote. Do we support this addition? If you're in support of it, raise your hand. All right, 4. We have another one by Clark County.
16.
Page 16, 3B 14. GSBA urges the state legislature to make significant contributions to the need-based financial aid program created in 2018 by the General Assembly through House Bill 787. GSBA urges the state legislature to increase funding for the HOPE grant program to cover full tuition for students in the technical college system of Georgia. Rationale: Georgia does not have a funded comprehensive need-based financial aid program. The HOPE Scholarship and the Zell Miller Scholarship, the state's most prominent aid programs, serve about 36% of students in the university system of Georgia and 8% of associate degree students in the technical college system. Economically disadvantaged students and students of color are even less likely to receive a scholarship. The HOPE grant, which provides aid to certificate and diploma students in technical colleges, no longer covers full tuition. The limited reach of these programs prevent many students from entering and completing post-secondary programs.
I would definitely support technical school funding. Technical colleges, excuse me, they're not schools anymore. Because as Michael Thurman, the former labor commissioner, always says, everybody's not going to college, but a lot that don't go to college do go to technical schools. And those guys end up making more than people who go to 4-year college.
Well, and the
But-
reality is, I mean, HOPE doesn't cover full tuition, but it covers a large portion of the tuition for technical college.
I don't know who told you that, but it don't cover no large portion, I can tell you that.
70% is not large. I mean, when I've looked on it, it covers 70%. Am I wrong?
I haven't seen
I don't think it covers things like books, and they're becoming pretty expensive for the children, and it doesn't cover the university's annual or biannual cost or semester cost. I think it's per semester.
You're correct on all of that.
Yeah,
Trust
so
me, I
I
know
don't know if
that
it's
well.
for that they're asking for more, but it does cover a lot.
And that's, I mean, it's a great dream to be able to cover all colleges for all of the students. I wish it could go into effect right now. But again, I just don't see that you can cover everything on it. So I mean, that's, again, it's still gonna come back to a funding thing on it. And from a school board, I see that's not what I need GSBA to fight for the next level for these. I mean, because it's a funding thing. I'd rather be fighting to make sure our teachers are funded, our classes are funded. But again, that's me. That's my thoughts.
Well, if you go back to original Hope that Mark Taylor and Miller did back in the day, Hope was for the disadvantage, and Hope did cover more than what it does today. It's been hijacked to cover a section that it was not originally written to cover, and it's been changed a lot through the years. But if you go back to the original legislation that my friend Lieutenant Governor Taylor and Zell Miller, it was totally different. And I think we have to get back to basics. I think we have to help those who can't help themselves. Hope is not helping the people that it was intended to help, the students that it was intended to help. So I think we have to, we have a lot of kids here who would, back in the day, we had a lot of programs that really help with financial needs of children who went to technical schools and colleges. I have a 4-year degree, but I also have 2 technical school degrees completion. So, and I tell everybody this, people think I'm lying, but I'm not. But I've made more money with my technical degrees than I have with my college degree, if that makes sense. So it's much needed. And it's sad for me to look and see that 30 years later, that kids get less help than I did way back. Well, not way back, but back when. Does that make sense? And things are more expensive now. And if we keep living, if we wake up tomorrow, they're going to be even more expensive with the tariffs and everything that's coming down the pipes. So I don't think we can turn a blind eye. We say we want kids to be successful, but we want to curtail their success, and everybody's not going to college. I want a good mechanic. I want a good air and refrigerator repairman. I want a good plumber. I want a good electrician. I want a good welder. Y'all hear what I'm saying? I want somebody to come remodel my house who know how to nail a nail and make it straight.
And that's why our CCAE program is doing very well for us in teaching those skills. I'm just saying that I don't see where
But they need a technical, they need to be certified to.
Well, just like we talked about earlier, the dual enrollment aspect of, it continues with technical school, not to put a cap. I'm just saying, I don't see that GSBA doing funding for colleges where I want
We
them to
pay
spend
our
their time.
lobbyists handsomely, and she's done a fantastic job through the years. It's more than one, but I named the one because she's the one that speaks
Right.
at the conferences. And they do an excellent job. There's a team of lobbyists, and that's why we pay them the fee that we pay them. So let's give them some work to do, because that's what they get paid for doing.
Okay.
And if they need to prioritize, trust me, they will.
Does Hope pay as much to a 4-year college degree as they do technical? Is there a difference in the percentage they pay?
Well, Hope doesn't pay full tuition, and you have to have a Zell Miller to get full tuition. And so that's, the grades are required for it are much higher. But my understanding was Hope paid the same percentages, and it doesn't pay the same exact percentage at all the states, at state universities as far as for in a bachelor's program. But when I've looked at it, it is anywhere between 70 to 80% that is paying for tuition at your state public schools. That, like I said, that was, in my understanding, it did that at the university system, and I thought it did that at the technical college too. But you can prove me wrong if you want to. Okay, well, we just need to vote on this proposed addition, 3B14. All in favor of it, raise your hand. Okay, opposed? You support it as a system, 3-1. I think that's all of them, right?
That's all of them.
Okay.
That's where we're going right now.
All right.
That's why I got up. Okay. Comprehensive needs assessment is how you're gonna do that for me, or?
You can, as you want.
All right. The comprehensive needs assessment is how we get the community involved, get our teachers involved, and identify where our challenges are at, and identify where we need to set our goals to be able to move forward and improve the district. Now, way back when, in FY19, you're gonna see on this sheet where we were in 19 compared to where we are this year, self-rating in 20. Now, we had a meeting on the 24th of April, was the first meeting that we had. And we went through leadership, was the first one that we did. And we identified administrators, a clearly defined, collaborative, data-driven budget process that ensures the equitable, efficient, and transparent distribution of resources and support learning and teaching. A long way of saying, give the principals in the schools the support they need to do what they do. In 19, we were listed as operational or self-rated as operational. In FY20, the group of people that came together rated us as exemplary. As you move down, also in leadership data, allocates and monitors the use of time, materials, equipment, and physical resources. Again, we went from operational in FY19 up to exemplary in FY20. As we look at effective leadership data, looking at Bill's support for district and school goals, we remained at operational. Looking at uses in established process to align policies, procedures, and practices with laws and regulations. Last year we were at exemplary and we remained there. We did not go down. Grants defined flexibility based on results to school leaders to address individual school needs and to improve learning and teaching. We remained at the exemplary level for the past 2 years. Organizes and provides personnel, expertise, and services to achieve district and individual school goals. We remained at operational. Some of the wording in these causes you to say we're not quite there yet, and some of the wording identifies that we're already at exemplary. Moving down to planning, organizing, and monitoring uses a collaborative, data-driven process at the school district, school levels. We remained at operational. Uses protocols and processes for problem-solving, decision-making, and removing barriers. We remained again at operational. Uses processes to monitor and provide timely guidance, support, and feedback to individual schools as they implement improvement plans. We remained at operational. And communicates a collaborative, developed district vision, mission, and core beliefs that focus on preparing all students for college and career readiness. We remained at operational. Establishes and communicates district-wide expectations for schools and engages families and community To support learning and teaching, we remained at operational. And establishes structures to promote clear and open communication between schools and stakeholders. We remained at exemplary. Data collection analysis, we remained at operational for the first one, which ensures that families and community members have feedback and problem-solving opportunities throughout the district. Communicates district policies and procedures in a timely manner to relevant audiences. We moved up to exemplary with that. Fosters within the district a border community to culture of trust, collaboration, and joint responsibility of improving learning and teaching. We remained at operational. 2.1, this is engages and supports all schools in systematic process for curriculum design to align instruction and assessment with required standards. We remained at operational. And this took place on May 1. The ones above, like I said, took place on the 24th of April, so it would be a week later. Then we did develops and communicates common expectations for implementing curriculum, instruction, and assessment practices across the schools. We went up to exemplary. Guides, supports, and evaluates the implementation of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We remained at operational. Guides and supports schools in the selection and implementation of effective strategies, programs, and interventions to improve student learning. We remained at operational. This is professional capacity. Establishes and implements processes that increase the effectiveness of teachers, leaders, and staff. We remained at operational. Guides and monitors the use of a state-approved evaluation system to ensure the fidelity of implementation and to evaluate accurately the effectiveness of district and school leaders, teachers, and staff. We move up to exemplary. Ensures that professional learning is relevant and addresses adult and student needs. We remained at operational. Addresses the impact of professional learning on staff practices and student learning and makes adjustments as needed. We moved up to exemplary. To me, that one's more important than the first one. Supportive learning environment develops and implements processes to maintain facilities and equipment to ensure an environment which is safe and conducive to learning. We moved up to exemplary. Provides, coordinates, and monitors student support systems and services. We remained operational. Defines the roles, responsibilities, set skills, and expectations of leaders at all levels of the district to improve student learning and staff performance. We moved up to exemplary. We did all of that through communication with not only our stakeholders, teachers, principals, district staff. All of them are together discussing this. After you go through that entire 2-week process, then you come back to your district goals. From that, how do we improve? Now you notice as we went through all of those, we did not go down on anything. We either went up from operational to exemplary, or we remained at operational, which is very positive. Now, we set goals through this process, and as we set those goals, then we try to identify what we're going to do with those goals. And you had asked about goals at a few prior meetings early, and this is part of that process. By the end of 1920, which is just next school term, believe it or not, students will have demonstrated a 3% improvement from level 1 to level 2, level 2 to 3, or 3 to 4 in ELA and math. The reason we identify it at that level is if a student makes an advancement from level 1 to level 2, he may still not be passing, but he's making progress, he's making improvement. So that's why we demonstrate that at that level, and 3% at that level. Now that's going to be in ELA, math, science, and social studies, and we're looking at it through K-12. So we're looking at it at all levels. We want to monitor that, identify how we're going to get there, and we're looking at students with disabilities and students without. So we're not just focusing on one small group, we're focusing on all of them. Moving down to step 2, professional learning for our teachers on using the best practices in instruction and assessment, basically strengthening our teachers for tools in a toolbox to make them more prepared to move those students from level 1 to level 2 or 2 or 3. Continuing to show progress, continuing to strengthen our teachers at all levels, whether they go to a local college, a technical college, a RESA, wherever they go, we want them to not only build partnerships to be able to strengthen their ability to teach our kids, but also building their own tools to make them stronger teachers. Moving to step 3, we're going to use some of our federal dollars to try to, again, strengthen our learning environment, whether that's the students with disabilities or students without disabilities. Step 4, we're going to provide continuous technical support to our principals by hosting monthly-wide district professional learning meetings. We do that to talk about what's going on in their schools, what's going on that they need for us to support them in. How can we use all of those federal funds and our own funds to try and make them and our teachers better? We're looking at subgroups and all students at every level for this, so we're not trying to just isolate one small group. And we will conduct district-wide parent meetings, which we do quarterly, to expand the use of that school app as well. You all remember the Parent Squared that we used. We provide workshops for our parents. We have even videotaped presentations and put it on the website so everybody can see it at their leisure. So we're trying to attack every angle we can possibly think of to help our parents become more aware of what's going on. Moving down to goal number 2. The district will increase teacher recruitment and retention by 10% from the previous school term to positively impact student achievement. Now, this is always a local goal. It's always a challenge. This year we made it because the majority of the teachers that left were retiring. They weren't leaving to go somewhere else. However, for next year we don't know that yet. We're going to do that through trying to support them at all of these levels to make them a better teacher, to make them more comfortable and excited about teaching. We're going to seek appropriate companies, persons, and additional programs to try and give them some additional opportunities, whether that is financial or whatever. I told the story when I presented all of this the other day that when I was in Jacksonville, Florida, one of the advantages they gave new teachers was as if they would sign on as a contract teacher with Duval County, they got free cable at their house. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but it was just a perk that they gave them that's partnering with community to try and give them another perk just to be a teacher and to stay here in Lincoln County. We will host development and planning meetings so that the parent leadership is garnered for collaboration and engagement in the school district. Enhance the use of our website and our school app to try and serve as more interactive platform and attract more parents. We're seeing more involvement in Parent Squared. We're seeing more interaction through Parent Squared. You have done quite a few that you have put out there, and Dr. E, you've put a few out there as well, and I see the principals are putting them out also. So it's actually working, and they're starting to look at that a lot more often, and that's very positive for us. Provide professional learning for our teachers that supports evidence-based instructional practices. That's extremely important that we use evidence-based. Expand the new teacher mentor program. We were just talking about that. The new teacher mentor program to support the professional learning needs of teachers with 3 years or less experience or new to the district. Try and add more time to them, to try and strengthen them so that not only are they more comfortable here, but they know more of how we do things. And as Mrs. Freeman said, each district does it a little bit different, so it just makes everybody more comfortable. Goal number 3, the district will have increased parent and family engagement by 10%. This one is quite a challenge for us every year. This year we made it because of Parent Squared. I hope that continues to expand. We have done everything we can think of to have parents come to our parent meetings after school, whether that's a Title I meeting or all the other events that we have. We're not getting 10% except for open house or when the elementary school is singing. Then they'll all show up. We have fed them and we can't get them to show up. So we're gonna try 2 or 3 more ideas until we find the right one. Update the district and school's website more frequently to provide more user-friendly to parents and families to improve engagement and information, sharing about resources available to help students learn, to help student learning, a home, online, and community-based sponsored education program, provide technical training to build staff capacity. And that is our district improvement plan for the year, for 1920. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, please.
Dr. Light, you said something, and I want to ask you how this is faring. We know that federally, we're in a part of the country that is still suggested to be in the digital divide. And in knowing that, how many of our households, student households, have internet access or computer access at home?
I don't know that number exactly. I know that it's not high enough. I would be willing to guess that number is probably around 60. I know that talking to companies like DirecTV, they are in the process of putting additional fiber in our county to expand the capabilities and reaching people that don't have it, but it's not near enough. I do know that.
Yeah, just a quick thing. I don't even think it's 60, but and there are some programs out there. Have you looked into other alternatives to solving this issue? Per se, some rural counties now have bought this gadget. If anybody knows the name of it, tell me. But you can take it with you. I know my friends who are doctors, when they come to Georgia, they bring it on with them. But it's some kind of little small box, as small as this, maybe a little thicker, but they get on the computer. They get internet on it. Does anybody know the technical name? I don't.
It's a Verizon hotspot. It's
Hotspot.
probably the one you're talking about. I personally had one and it didn't work worth a flip in Lincoln County and I went to the dish.
All right, well, let me say this. I live in north Lincoln County. I live right off of Gill Point Lake, the park up there. And we were, even with DirecTV, and you have to be rich to afford them because they start out with this and they go to 150 and 60 about the third or fourth bill. So, I mean, that was my experience. But I have a box. I've had it now about 10 years. My son bought it for us. And for the last 10 years, I get this. And it's just a little box about this. And I think they say now, my phone man told me Wilkes Telephone sells them. So it's easily solved. And I know some school systems with the right number of qualified students, that percentage, they were able to get federal grants to help buy the computers and the little, whatever you call it, to go along with the children from school to home. And that helped solve some of the digital divide. And there are some school systems who are offering classes to parents, or I'll say whoever's the guardian of a child, school-age child, to help them learn how to access the internet, because a lot of people don't know. And if my 82-year-old, 84-year-old daddy can do the computer, I think anybody can. So it's not that they can't be taught, but I don't know if we're offering workshops when they come to these meetings for something to help them to be able to help their children on a computer. Because it's one thing to have it and your child brings it, But if the parent doesn't know how to access it, it's still a difficult situation. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So maybe we should offer some of those kind of things at some of the meetings and, you know, other systems do it. So my thing is this, if somebody else is doing it and it's successful, maybe you want to borrow it from them. Does that make sense? So that may be something we want to think about. The other thing you said, recruitment of teachers. And we know that percentage-wise, according to our stats, our system is, 40-something% African-American, or has it dropped? Does anybody know? Well, anyway, our teaching population doesn't resemble that. So what are we doing to recruit minority teachers? And I'll let you think about that. And congratulations on what you just showed us. It seems like y'all are being progressive and doing some great work. But those are some things that I just heard and I wanted to add to it. But internet access is a real biggie.
It is, I agree.
And
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Going off what, continuing on with Ms. Freeman, have y'all actually done a poll of the students to actually know how many actually have internet access and don't? Has that been done? I'd like to know the percentage. I mean, it is, I can see where it'd be a big disadvantage. I mean, if y'all send a sheet home and say you have internet access,
There'll be more technology department, I would think. But I can tell you, for instance, Parent Square, we know we have 54% that have of students in the system. Parent Square that have supplied email address or some information. Now that 54%, some of them, those are ones that we have successfully contacted through, who have got it and opened it. 54% what we've sent through Parent Square, and there are probably more, but they may have a wrong email address. But the ones who have an email address that is valid and has opened something we've sent has been 54%.
so is that 54% of the student population parent, or is that?
Yes, sir.
let me say something, Mr. Williams. Let me ask you a question. Because some of those parents I'm talking to, they had phone service, they may have lost their job, and they had internet on their phones where they set up their email accounts. When they didn't pay their bills, their phones went sideways. They don't always have the money to buy the minutes to keep the phone working because the majority of them have minute phones. So the people that I talk to, the people that I see and who talk to me, it's not the child doesn't have computer access. The parent may have it on their phone, but there's no computer access in the home in that 54% that you just quoted. And that's my problem. And I would feel better, I think that's an excellent suggestion that Mr. Heitman made. There needs to be a survey done at the beginning of the year. We don't need names, just a survey amongst the students to say who has computer access. It may be a little difficult for the elementary. They may have to send in and let the parents do it. But every middle school and high school student, I would think, know if they got computer access. I'm looking at the high school people and middle school. Yeah.
Is that an advantage if you're a middle school or a high school student to have a computer at home with internet?
On our information sheets that we send home every year, there's a place for parents to put their email, their current email addresses on there. And the majority of them have an email address. Sometimes it's tied to their workplace, not necessarily their home. And we update that every year. And that's where that percentage that he got it's uploaded in Infinite Campus, and it was pulled from there. But you do throughout the year. The phone numbers change a lot, and their email that they give us is not active. We always offer, I know Dr. Gummy does as well, we have a parent resource center, and we offer parents the option they can come in and get on our computers at school if they would like. When we have surveys and things that we send out, we always have the computers available for them, and they come into the conference room and use them. I've, had parents call before and say, can I come up there and can you help me do this? I said, yes, ma'am. And, or yes, sir, and they always come. But I know we're not reaching all of them, but, we do the best we can with the ones we have. I mentioned to Dr. Edmond and one time in a meeting about a school system that has a bus, and it's hooked up, it's wireless, and they have computers, and it goes to different neighborhoods throughout the year. It's something that, we could look into to help parents.
Is it a clear advantage to have a computer?
Well, our students can come before school, stay after school, so they have access to it. We even let them check them out through the media center. And I know they, can go uptown to the library. There's never a time in middle school where we make an assignment where a child has to have it or they're not going to be successful. Does it help? Most certainly,
Okay.
It does. It makes it easier for the parents because they don't have to come pick the child up or send them home on the after-school bus, that kind of thing. But we work with them as best we can.
I think that's called cyber, and that is the future. I think that's the direction we're going in. I think.
I don't disagree. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And it's no reflection on you guys. I make my comments so I can help y'all. But, and Ms. Shirley Dawkins does an excellent job, and a lot of those, I've seen parents, just saw them last month when I was at my DFACS meeting, coming and going to the library so they could access their emails. And I talked to them and they said, no, we don't have it at home. If we're in town, we try to run by the library to see what it says. And they may get to do it once a week. They may get to do it once every 3 weeks. And it's where I live, there are students on my road, bus runs, but we're 18 miles from Lincoln County, from the city. And a lot of those parents don't work in Lincoln. They're working either Athens or Elberton or South Carolina. And then on the lower end, you have the same thing. You have people down there who live 18 miles or so. So we're in a big spread out county, and I just want to make sure that students have the tools and parents, because we got some good parents, and they get what I want to say. They get deterred because they can't give everything their child. They would love to be able to give their child everything they needed. And I know this for a fact. In high school, even when my daughter graduated, even when she was in middle school, there were projects that, I had Miss Sutton, a former teacher. She would bring her daughter, because I have a whole office, to make copies and print stuff out on my printer. And all of that because they didn't have it. But they knew somebody in the community who did, and we do that kind of service for kids in our neighborhood and our community, so we are family. But every community don't have that, but with what I do, I have to have it. But there is a big problem. And over the years, we've had the conversation with Wilkes Teller, I believe Dr. Edmonds, not you, Dr. Edmonds, but our superintendent at one time was talking, Kay, do you remember that, to them about the internet and getting our
Broadband?
There you go. And it took a long time to get those expansions and get what we needed, but we're getting there. But we want to make sure that the parents are getting there with us so that the students won't get behind.
The kids recently in high school, the ones who took online classes that had assignments due, weekly without a computer, they would not have been able to do, because most of those assignments weren't able to just be done during the school time, if they had a period at school. So I mean, if you don't have a computer at home, then you really can't do an online class, for
Yeah.
sure.
I feel like middle school and high school, but I mean, I don't know anything about elementary school, what they're gonna need. I mean, they're gonna need, I think in 5th grade now, they're doing computer stuff, aren't they?
They are.
They're doing it in some
Cyber.
counties in first, then second and third grade.
This
My
is the
grandson
future.
goes to school in Cobb County. He's already doing stuff on the computer.
Do they have any federal funding out there for rural counties in this type of situation?
Not that I've been able to find yet. I've been trying to get Verizon to help us and trying to get Reliant to help us. Not that I'm able to find yet. And I'm not quitting looking, it's just I haven't found it yet.
Who are you talking to at Verizon?
I talked to Verizon Corporate and I talked to Verizon Georgia. And at this point, they said we are too small and they are not going to expand any of their towers, nor are they going to expand the capability of towers.
They just put towers up my way. Who,
Southern Link put up
AT&T.
towers.
yeah,
Yeah.
can
Is
I,
AT&T coming
can I give you a name to talk
Absolutely.
to at
in?
Verizon?
Yes, ma'am.
Fiber up 79. Anyway.
I'm gonna call him and ask him, I'm making myself a note, and ask him to give you a call.
That'd be wonderful.
Because they have business and education reps only. So
That'd be
you may have talked to somebody who's not in that field, but they have designated people that deal with businesses and schools, so.
Even if I talked to him once before, I'll talk to him again.
I'm sure you haven't talked to this person, you would remember their last name.
Okay.
I do have another question.
Okay.
I'm looking over here, and this is my first time going through this. You got the FY20 self-rating.
Yes, sir.
I guess that is a group of team members.
Yes, sir.
How are they comprised? I mean, what is the I mean, I hate to say this, I don't know how this might come out wrong, but, you know, you could pick a group of people and you can make your ratings show whatever you want to show. So I just wanted to know how biased they are. I mean, who is the principals or?
The principals are part of that. The principals actually help select 3 to 5 from their schools. We
Okay.
call, I'm sorry,
3 to 5.
from their school parent group
Okay.
to
parents.
invite.
Okay.
Yes. We invite county commissioners. We invite the mayor and people off of the city council. We invited the sheriff, who actually attended this time. Help me, who else am I missing?
Jeanette's.
Jeanette from up in,
They're not even from my county.
right, trying to get them involved so that they can help us and read through it, because they have to do the same thing.
Development Authority, the
Development
chamber.
Authority.
There you go, John Stone was there.
Students.
How many people is it? 40, 50?
It was, I think the list was like 60, but 40 showed up.
On average, about 40 were able to participate.
Okay, so it's a good diverse group of people that.
Yes, sir.
Well, the guidelines require that. They actually tell you what members have to be in attendance.
Okay, okay.
So
That's one of
business.
those
So that you
safeguards.
can't handpick.
Yeah, I'm trying, yeah.
No, I'm
I mean,
with you, you're right.
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can we get a list of those?
Sure, just sitting back there on my desk.
Both days, man.
2 days,
Gotta make sure you get both days. There's different ones came.
That was a good question.
reunion,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Williams.
Was I on the voting? No.
Oh, you was part of the.
Giving them the information, but
Right.
not part of the vote. They voted on their own. We didn't tell them what to put. They gave us their groups, selections and actions. What they, each group determined what they considered to be the rating. And then we took that and came to the census.
How? I see how the parents would know the education system, but I don't see how the elected officials, I don't see how the committee members from Development Authority, I see defects a little bit, depending on who came, but I see. Thank you.
That's the facilitator, is at different time.
Oh, okay.
Of course, Mr. Williams.
Oh,
Our
okay.
job is just to facilitate that.
Okay. And this is the, okay.
This is the, so each, we have 3 teams. And so we
Okay.
diversify the teams.
Okay.
So you will get different viewpoints on opinions.
Okay.
That's a facilitator list. there's.
That's all right, isn't it?
Team one was great.
On that day.
He was a presenter that day.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And while you're reviewing that list, I also, when a member would miss, we do what we call soft meetings, and that we would share out with them through email, and they would have the opportunity to give feedback, and that also would impact the final team position.
Team two was great.
And when they provided this information prior to the meeting, so they didn't come in blind and just, we told them what to do. They got information prior to the meeting.
It was a full week ahead of time. That was one of the things we learned from last year, was as we brought them in and we set them down and showed them this information. For the folks that were not in education, it was overwhelming. So this year, well, actually, we did it last year in the second meeting, and this year we started it at the beginning, gave them a full week in advance of all of this information first to read through, study it a little bit, even call and ask questions. And then from there, they were a lot more prepared to sit down there in the meeting and discuss.
You get one of these acronym sheets?
Why don't,
We actually did prep them so that they would kind of.
I still don't know what they are. I got my little cheat sheet.
where are their asterisks by?
That would be the facilitator at the table.
Okay.
We would only facilitate to start the meeting,
Yeah.
and then we would turn it over to the table, so it would be true two-way dialogue.
Right.
And usually got elected to report out.
Yeah, that also.
I feel better seeing the list because I can relate to who was on the list. And so it's better than just being told blindly that you have teachers and parents, because it was maybe 3 people I didn't know, you know, so I don't even think it was 3. I think I knew everybody. But that's a good look. But all 3 were good teams. I had a lot of opinionated people. When I saw Fogarty, I was like, okay. But no, that was, I feel better. How about you, Aidan?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Black and white makes, well, that black and yellow, but it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Do you have any
I'm
other
just
questions?
interested. Let me see, I got a rough list of stuff now. Let me see. No, I see executive session.
Any other questions on this? All right.
Let me ask one question. Is this every year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's an annual event.
Okay.
One more piece, just to let everybody know, on the 18th, which is this Saturday, FCA, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes, is having a presentation at Buddy Bufford Field from 10 to 2. The purpose is to, or the goal is to encourage students to make wise choices at all times, especially during summer months. And they will have several guest speakers who will bring a positive message to all students. They will have a mentoring one-on-one or group session with the community leaders, and a luncheon will be provided.
How did the prom go on?
I thought it was wonderful.
I
It was
mean,
very
no
well
problems?
decorated.
No.
No, it was beautiful.
No issues.
Very well decorated. The kids behaved, did very well, very well dressed. It was wonderful.
They're always beautiful and handsome. Mr. Chair, if we've concluded with the superintendents, I have one before we go into exec.
Okay.
All right. This is my 3rd request, and I will make a 3rd request that the board, I make a motion that the board would confirm my attendance in Savannah to the workshop where I can get my hours and be done, and that's in June. So that's my
We have a
request.
motion on the floor. I have a second. Okay, that motion dies for lack of second.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This time I need a motion to go into executive session. Mr. Madison, second. From the time. All right, we call our meeting back to order.
Dr. Dunby?
It is recommended by our superintendent. I make a motion that we hire Robert McCarty, special education and teacher at the elementary school. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended by the superintendent. I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Kevin Jones effective April 5, 2019. I have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Hannah Carmichael at the end of this school year.
So moved.
I have a second by Ms. Freeman. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Ms. Erin Burton as a high school secretary for the 2019-2020 school year.
So moved.
Second by Ms. Freeman. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Paul Carter as high school PE instructor for 2019-2020. I have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Sarah Wheatley as the third grade ELA position for the elementary school. Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Ms. McCall Chadwick as a third grade ELA position at the elementary school for 2019-2020. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Ms. Crystal McCassell to the position of fourth grade ELA at the elementary school for 2019-2020. Have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Carl Clevenger as a substitute bus driver upon approval of the state and local requirements. Seconded by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Ms. Carolyn Banks as sixth grade ELE teacher for 2019-2020 school year. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended that we hire Ms. Joan Bufford as a business computer connections teacher for the 2019-2020 school year. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended that we extend Ms. Patty Arthur's contract, making a 12-year,
12.
I mean, no.
Yeah.
A 12-month contract for the year 2019-2020.
That being 15 days, Mr. Chair?
Say again?
Was that a 12-month with a certain amount of days, Mr. Chair?
Makes it a
It
12-month
was
contract.
adding the 15 days made it 12 months.
Okay,
So,
got you.
we have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we hire Ms. Judy Kirkland as the assistant superintendent for the 2019-2020 school year at 49%.
So moved.
I have a second by Ms. Freeman. All in favor? Unanimous? It is recommended that we hire, and I make a motion that we hire Bethany Baggs as a parapro in PE at the elementary school for the next school year.
So moved.
Seconded by Ms. Freeman. All in favor? It is recommended, and I make a motion that we offer extended 20-day extended contract for the offensive coordinator and offensive and defensive coordinator, and also add $10,000 to the coaching supplements. We have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Opposed? 3-1. It is recommended, and I make a motion that we add $5,000 to the supplement of Dr. Gumby, Mr. Madden, and Ms. Burt for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Hyman. All in favor? Unanimous. It is recommended, and I make a motion that we reclassify Ms. Carla Matthews to a Federal Programs Coordinator and increase her salary by $3,000. I have a second by Mr. Hyman. All in favor? Unanimous. I'll let that contract, the supplements it back there.
That's fine.
You want me
All
to
right.
get it, or you want just
The,
say it?
we'll say it, and we'll get it. Okay. Let me go get it.
Okay.
Just, you can't get it?
Yeah, okay, that's right, I can't get it.
I
Sorry about that. I
man,
don't think I brought
you know
it.
how far it is up 79 in the dark.
It's far anywhere in the
11
dark.
o'clock at night. That, how far is it to your house? About 8 miles? I got 10, 15.
My wife didn't ask me, is everything okay?
Mine's gone to bed, she ain't cared.
I live up by you. I live past,
Sorry about that.
past Midway. I'm right before you get to Elbert.
Okay, the superintendent has recommended the supplements that you saw back there, and with the amendments that we've already voted on,
Not voted, but Talked
that
about.
we approved, well, the amendments that we have approved in public session now.
oh, this
Yep.
earlier,
So
yeah.
now, I make a motion that we accept the supplements as amended. Second by Mr. Masson. All in favor? Opposed? You vote?
Oh, we talk about,
These supplements right here, that all the different supplements, and we, the
gotcha,
changes on it.
that's,
Yeah.
that's one, okay.
Yep. So, how do you vote?
I'm sorry,
Ms. Freeman?
y'all. Yes, yes.
All right, unanimous. And the marathon has come to an end. I need him.
Oh, so moved, let's go home.
Second.
We could have an academic banquet or a middle school banquet too.
It was very good.
It did, it was very well.